this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no one.
a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin. This is Kotobukijake,
Hey.
and we're here to show you what we got.
Yeah.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh boy.
So, we got a ton this week. Huge tracks of DVDs.
Well,
5 at least.
5. And honestly, I kind of hate to say this. I only have 2 actual legit pickups this week.
Get used to disappointment.
But, as we said before, yeah, I guess the top 200, or first 200, they're going to end kind of with a whimper in terms of pickups.
$1.99.
I did get out and did some thrifting, if you will, this week, and I got some stuff, but I really want to do it all as one. So I may start off the 200 in like 201 with the new pickup.
The next 200.
The next 200, exactly. But so for this one, I'm going to end with, I'm going to start with 3 that are already long since in the collection, but that have not been presented on here. And then I'll end with a couple that are new. And the first one seemed like an appropriate enough one to bring on in, since we'll be discussing it tomorrow, or whenever this video goes up this week, on Movies Galore. And that is my copy of the film Girl Interrupted.
Nice version there.
Which is, it is a pretty nice version.
Clean version.
Actually has some pretty decent special features on there. Not too bad. It's a James Mangold film from 99, I believe. Or was it 99?
Yeah,
I think it is.
Winter 99.
Oh, well, there you go. So, this one, of course, won the Academy Award for Supporting Actress for a largely unknown Angelina Jolie, who just kind of blew everyone away with her portrayal of a not entirely with it character. But basically, this is based on the memoir by Susanna Kaysen, where she spent some time in a psychiatric hospital back in the 60s, and she's played in the film by Winona Ryder. Features a very... So I was forgotten who all was in this and didn't even realize some of the people that were in this. Whoopi Goldberg, of course. Jeffrey Tambor, long before his disgrace, starred in this film, or had a small role in it. And as yet unknown, Jared Leto and Elizabeth Moss were both in this. Clea Duvall and the Kurtwood Smith, Mary Kay Place, tons of people. And the late Brittany Murphy, very cruelly ironic that a character who does not survive the film ended up not surviving into her mid-30s. But good film. I look forward to the discussion, and I figure, like, well, this is actually a nice addition. Might as well present it.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, if it's in the collection and you haven't shown it off yet, it's fair game. I can tell you, there have been some times in the past where I had run out of pickups to show, and I pulled out, like, I was like, which ones have I not shown before? And just threw out some of those. So...
Oh, you got tons of those.
I do now. I'm talking like sometime beforehand, like early on.
Right.
So, some interesting stuff. Now I have a video game, 2 inherited pieces, and 2 cornerstone pieces for the collection. So, let's start with the video game.
Get her done.
This actually is an OOP one that I found just when I was out in the community the other day, and that is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Now I've got the sequel, which is the Hyrule Warriors other game. And this is done in the Dynasty Warriors style, where they go around with like lots of enemies and they take them out, and you're fighting big battles and stuff like that, and you're able to use all the different like Zelda characters. It is a really cool concept. I have not played it yet, I'll admit, but I would rather have played this one first before I play the other one. So I'm kind of glad. This was huge on the Wii U, so I was kind of glad to finally get a hold of this one. Again, pretty cool find. Like I say, it is out of print if you're trying to get in physical.
Right.
So it is really cool to find it in the wild like that.
Good deal. All right. One that is probably way out of print, and that's one of the reasons I decided to bring it in. One thing that's notable about this film is, or the time frame, is 1999 I consider to be basically the year that I really became a film geek. That was the year I started college. That was the year I fell in with a group of hardcore film geeks and learned a lot about it. And I really, really, really got into it. And I really got into looking at what the critics were saying and the awards shows and all that stuff. And I've largely gotten over some of the, I guess, some of the more pretentious trappings of that. The old me never would have watched some of the films I watched this week, let's put it that way. But for a few years there, I was deep into that thing. So I was really big into independent films of the late 90s, early aughts stripe. And one very independent film from the 98, I believe, probably one of the first ones I saw that was not a Kevin Smith movie, that was written, directed by, and starred or co-starred the same person, was a Vincent Gallo film called Buffalo 66, which co-starred Christina Ricci, who I was a huge fan of at the time, because she was kind of an indie darling. And,
Weren't we all?
Well, we all kind of were at the time. But also a fascinating supporting cast. Ben Gazzara, Rosanna Arquette, Mickey Rourke is in there, and Angelica Houston. Very interesting cast. For a hot minute, I couldn't wait to see what Gallo was going to do next. And then he did a movie called Brown Bunny that everyone despised, and I never actually got around to watching. But I always liked this movie. It's weird, it's dark, it's twisted. It's a movie that was unlike anything I had seen at the time. I haven't seen it in years, and I don't know if I'd have the same reaction to it now, but it's kind of a rare movie, and I've long been happy to have it in the collection. And well, I mean, let me know in the comments below. Has anyone gone shopping for this one lately? How rare is it?
Hey, yeah,
But-
go shopping for it, but it's a cool one.
It's a Lionsgate film, so it's probably way out of print. But
And they guard their titles, too.
yeah,
It's like they do not want their stuff in print. So these two were kind of an interesting upgrade. One of them was a Space Saver, and the other one was, well, I had one of the films, but the other film on it I did not have. So we're going to start with that one, which is a Rodney Dangerfield double feature with Back to School and Easy Money. You know what's weird is I had not seen Easy Money
I haven't seen either one.
before then. Oh, Back to School is a freaking classic. And you want to see early Robert Downey Jr.
Oh,
He was almost unrecognizable in it. So young, 86. So he was he was 21 when it filmed. Yeah. So he was very young.
Yes.
So of course, Back to School is about Rodney Dangerfield. By the way, late great Rodney Dangerfield, one of the greater comedic actors of our time, probably wouldn't have fit in very well today, as so many, unfortunately, do. But Rodney Dangerfield plays this guy who gets wealthy on basic business and ends up being told, you need to go to college. He never went to college. And so now his son is there, and he's all excited about that. And then his son talks about dropping out. He's like, no, you're not dropping out, and I'm going to join you. Because he's like, well, you're not going to college. So I'm going to college then. And so since he's super rich, he basically buys his way into the college and uses his money to do a lot of antics and live out his party fantasies and all of that. Really good film. The second one, Easy Money, it's about him. He's kind of like this guy who's a photographer who, I think he does every vice in the book. And his best friend, Joe Pesci, isn't a good influence either. So his daughter gets married, and his mother-in-law supposedly dies, and they stipulate in the will that they will get everything, like all $10 million, if he can stop smoking, take his weight down to 170 pounds, no gambling. Basically, anything that was fun for him is eliminated. So you get to watch him kind of suffer through the entirety of the film. It's still a fun film to watch. I enjoyed it. Rodney Dangerfield is an expert when it comes to word comedy, and this is no different in my opinion.
Good deal.
I'm going to turn this down a little bit.
So it's kind of interesting. Actually, that was a really good lead-in, because you talk about a film... you were talking a moment ago about a film that features a very young Robert Downey Jr. at the start of his career. My next film features a Robert Downey Jr. in what may be considered the twilight area between the nadir of his career and the resurgence of his career. Because as we know, after winning an Oscar, he did win for Chaplin, right?
I don't know.
Well, being up for one.
Definitely up.
He kind of lost it. And he became unemployable for a while. And he kind of really came back with Ally McBeal, if I remember correctly. But there were a handful of films in that time period, Wonder Boys being a really good one, that he got small roles in. And one of them is a Frank Oz comedy that I have always enjoyed, that I think is thoroughly unappreciated, not just underappreciated, unappreciated, I think. And that is the film starring Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy, Bowfinger, which features Downey Jr. as a producer. It also has Heather Graham, Christine Baranski, Terrence Stamp. I mean, it has a fascinating cast. And it's one of those movies where Eddie Murphy plays multiple roles, but unlike Norbit, this one doesn't suck. But basically, he plays a movie star, Kit Ramsey, and his goofy, overeager brother, Jiff. And Steve Martin plays Bobby Bowfinger, a director desperate for a hit. I mean, desperate for a hit. We're talking about low-budget indies or whatever. This is a guy who's desperately trying to make it in. And Downey Jr. plays the producer who gets on the hook because Bowfinger says he can deliver Kit Ramsey. So he comes up with a con, and Heather Graham plays an ingenue fresh off the bus who's very cute and can be easily manipulated into starring in the film because she don't know better. And basically, the idea is they are going to use essentially paparazzi style stolen pictures of Kit Ramsey with his brother as the stand-in for the more dramatic portions of the film. And I think the film was called Heavy Rain or Fat Rain or something like that. But I love this movie. And actually at the time, I was still not a fan of Steve Martin. I think this is one of the movies that made me start thinking of him as someone that I could watch. And I just don't know why people didn't enjoy this one more. But, but I've always been glad to have it. And this one has a pretty darn decent number of special features. You can't really read it. But, it's more than you would expect from. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But yeah.
All right, let's get back in focus again there.
Yeah.
All right, so this next one is kind of a consolidation, which is let me see if I can take this. All right, which is Euro Trip and Road Trip, a double feature. So. They are fun films. One of them has Tom Green in it, which...
He's all right in Road Trip. He could be worse.
I mean, he plays the perpetually odd individual. And his show... Oh, good God, his show. And Freddy Got Fingered. Oh. But, so, Road Trip...
So, we saw a friend of ours posted some potential Criterion covers earlier, and they had one for Freddy Got...
So... The first one, Road Trip, about this guy who accidentally sends his girlfriend a porno tape he made with the person that he had gotten drunk with one night there, and he's like, "Oh crap, I've got to go do this." So they go on a road trip to Austin, Texas, which is funny because the one girl, when she's going, Tom Green's like, "Boston."
Boston, Texas. Yes. Yes.
So
the other Boston.
It was decent. It was actually a fun movie. It's still an enjoyable comedy. Again, not one that could hold up. I don't know if this one would be considered funny by many of today's standards. But as far as a typical raunchy college comedy, this one is really good. And Eurotrip takes that and doubles down on it. Where a guy has his girlfriend cheating on him, and then he realizes there's a pen pal in Germany, and he finds out the pen pal is a female after he basically tells her to fuck off. So they go on a trip to Europe because,
Because Scotty doesn't know.
Yes. And you were talking about perfect cameos for that award. I really think that Matt Damon's cameo in this would have gone, in my opinion, should be like at one of the higher ones for that.
Oh, he had a good one, yeah.
Because that was a hell of a cameo, and I thought it was great. And that song is catchy as heck, unfortunately. But yeah, if you haven't seen these, and you got a decently, if you're not like too easily offended, I think you could enjoy this.
Very good, very good. All right, so now to the actual fresh, well, sort of fresh pickups. There's still a week or two back. So, y'all might remember that I said that I was waiting on 2 random items from Rightstuf. They finally shipped them. And one of them was literally a cart topper. This is one I'd been considering getting that wasn't pricey to begin with, but they brought it down to $4, and I was like, well, yeah. I can't not do that. And that's a little, I think it's a movie, might be an OVA. I think it's a proper movie, but it's called Hal.
Good one.
And yeah, it looks pretty good. It says, from the studio that brought you Attack on Titan, an artificial love story. But because, of course, anything called Hal will be about AI, That's a given. It's required. But again, it looks fun. It looks colorful. I've heard decent things about it.
Yeah.
And I could not turn it down for $4.
I really liked it. It had an interesting twist in the end. So it's worth a watch. At least one watch.
Cool. Oh, were they on Speed Cubers? Oh, that would have been fun.
So these last two are good examples of films that I consider are good essentials to have in the collection, but not necessarily films that I'm going to like. Well, American Beauty, for instance, is in my collection as one of my least favorite films of all time. But it's an important film. I respect that. So, these are going to be along that line, so to speak. So the first one of these is Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, boy.
Now, this one has more of an infamy than fame, I should say, because this is probably one of the very first found footage films. This is a 3-disc deluxe edition.
I admit it's a nice-looking set.
Yeah, it is a very nice-looking set. This set is out of print. And I saw it was going up in price, and I was like, okay, I better get this because I'm not going to pay a lot for this, and who knows if it's ever going to come back in. We seem to be going through another period in time, and I'm seeing it, where more and more people are trying to say, no, if it's not fit for kids, you shouldn't be able to buy it. And this is not for kids.
That's not fit for kids. I mean, come on, look at that cover. I mean, really.
Unfortunately, animals were harmed in the making of this.
Yeah.
Though I've heard that they ate a lot of the animals that they killed. So I guess that's a positive. I mean, they're going to eat them anyway, right?
It's better than just killing, yes.
But I don't know much about it. I know that it's about cannibals. And I know it's considered one of the most horrifying films of all time. So I will have to watch this just for that reputation alone.
I'm not sure I'm going to have to.
Yeah, it's a must-have in a collection. It is an essential film.
Yeah. Well, my last one is probably also kind of dark and nasty, but less so. And it's animated, so that's something. So we know animals, hopefully, were not harmed with this one.
Well, so you think,
And this was the one that I think I'd actually alluded to before, but this is the movie in the Black Butler franchise, not the live-action movie, but I presented that one a while back. But this is Black Butler Book of the Atlantic, which is basically the zombie film.
it's all right.
It's essentially they're on a cruise liner, think Titanic-style cruise liner, where there's an outbreak of the undead. And if memory serves correctly, I think this is where we learn the Undertaker's true
We learn more about him, yeah.
We learn a lot more about the Undertaker. And I want to say we get to see Elizabeth be a badass in this one, if I remember correctly, which was kind of cool. But overall, it was not my favorite Black Butler story. But generally, I've appreciated and enjoyed the manga, and I really look forward to seeing the supposedly more manga faithful anime. So I look forward to seeing it eventually.
Well, Book of Circus and Book of Murder were both incredible. That one was okay.
Okay.
Though better than season 2, but that's not saying much. So
I'm still waiting for them to animate the part where they go to Central Europe and deal with like the werewolves and stuff. That'd be kind of fun.
You know, though my favorite anime zombies are the Mercury zombies from Le Chevalier d'Eon. I don't know why, but they were just cool for me. So I can actually say that this does not top Disturbing. So another one that's out of print again.
Supposedly.
That came back into print, but now is out of print. Is...
Oh, dear God.
A Serbian film. I don't think we can go supposedly for more disturbing. This film has a reputation.
Yes.
This thing has got such a reputation that I believe even Dave would say this film can get people a little bit squeamish.
You think?
Hey,
Mr. Anderson.
I think Dave would look at this as mildly squeamish. So, you know. So, looking at these two, I actually consider them essentials when it comes to band art. And they push the envelope of what art can be. Whether they will be watched once, whether I will watch them more than once, is debatable.
You know you're going to watch them go, oh, those are like the best films ever.
I mean, my wife has said she will never watch this one. And my wife is into some pretty gory stuff. But hey, I could handle Antichrist.
Ugh.
And I got through...
I've only heard...
and I got through Hostel Part 1 and 2, so I figure I can get through this.
Well, everyone needs a hobby.
Yeah, I do. So with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and we'll see you for our 200th episode.
Woohoo!
We got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of cool things. We're going to show you all some of the best pickups we've had. And we're going to break out the cool stuff, the really cool stuff, for you to see. You might have seen them already in those 200, but you'll see them again. Plus others. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.